The Haram love. This is a story of an unacceptable love affair resulting from racist motives between a free white Sudanese Arab girl and a black African Negro boy from South Sudan. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a tribal system, or transmitted in any form, or by enemies without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief passages for a review for printing in a general magazine, a school journal, or a university article. All characters in this book are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, live or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 36. The trial of the free Arab wife and her African Negro husband before the Sharia court. The main judge of the Sharia court, Maulana Yassin Wad Al Hussein, declared loudly, "Now bring trial number 4." Trial number 4 happens to be the complaint against the Arab wife Insaf and her African husband Deng. The court clerk read aloud, Haj Salah al-Junaid, a citizen of the city of Gadarif from the Arab Shagir tribe and a follower of the Ansar al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyya al-Muhammadiyya group, today presents to you his complaint against Deng Majok Nasir, a black African Negro citizen from South Sudan who belongs to the Denka tribe. This black African Negro man married the free white Arab daughter of Haj Salah al-Junaid Insaf without asking his permission. According to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, any Islamic marriage without the presence of the father as guardian is adultery, and the wife is considered adulteress. Insaf turned it into a statue when her eyes suddenly saw her biological father standing before her in flesh and bones. His face looked angry. In his right hand, he holds a noticeably large stick. His long mustache is still there, and it looks as thick as grass, but his large beard has become white as a leprosy. He holds a grey prayer bead in his left hand. His mustache seemed to have doubled in length since his daughter had last seen him. His mustache appears longer than that of the German existential philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. His long mustache and large beard made him look like a man crucified upside down. He does not look at his disobedient runaway daughter, but rather stares angrily at the faces of the 3 judges. Her husband Deng had never seen his father-in-law before, but he guessed that the man standing in front of them who was like a devil, is the notorious father. The African husband touched his Arab wife's hand gently and encouraged her to move forward. Then he approached the angry father and stood between him and his frightened daughter. Before questioning the suspected African husband, the 3 judges looked at the couple for a surprisingly long time. 2 of them took off their glasses and cleaned their lenses. Then they replaced them, put on other sharper glasses, stared at the black husband Deng, and searched his body from head to toe. Their scrutinizing eyes moved from Insaf to Deng, to him and to her. They spent a long time looking at the white Arab wife and admiring her stunning beauty and sexy body. When the 3 Muslim rulers satisfied their curiosity and lustful desires for her, their attention turned to her father, Haj Salah al-Junaid. Maulana Yassin wondered in confusion, "Did you marry your beautiful white Arab daughter to this black African Negro?" The court man said impatiently, "Oh, Hazrat Maulana Yasin, this black African boy married Haj Salah's Arab daughter without taking his permission. In other words, this black African Negro married this white Arab girl without the consent of her guardian. Maulana Sharafuddin shouted angrily at Deng, "Did you marry this girl without asking her father for her hand in marriage?" Deng replied, "Yes, sir." Maulana al-Amin shouted with extreme anger as sparks flew from his red eyes. "Why did you do that? Is she your slave girl that you bought from the slave market in Umdurman city? Or did she the street girl with no Arab family or home? She is not one of these bad women you mentioned, sir. She's a good, polite, well-behaved girl from a respectable Arab family." Maulana Yasin asked angrily, "Then why didn't you go and knock on the door of her free Arab father and ask for her hand in marriage from him?" The African husband Deng said sadly, "Because her free Arab father threw her on the streets." Maulana Sharafuddin shouted with astonishment and anger, "Haj Salah, did you throw your free Arab daughter into the streets?" Haj Salah answered angrily while his radiant eyes sparkled, "I'm not such an evil Muslim father as to throw my free Arab daughter into the streets. This damn rebellious and disobedient daughter ran away from my home and married this black Negro boy without my permission." Maulana Sharafuddin asked, Why is your Arab daughter running away from you? There must be a strong reason for her rebellion." Maulana Sharafuddin answered his own question. "Because this black-faced African Negro boy committed adultery with her and impregnated her with a forbidden illegitimate child, or what Haram, outside the bone of permissible halal Islamic marriage, and he wanted it to slaughter her with your knife in an honored killing. So she ran away from you." Had Salah answered angrily, "If my free Arab daughter had committed that shame, I would have opened her womb with this agricultural knife and taken out of her womb the illegitimate child and smashed with the Haram's head against the wall." While Abu Shanab was uttering those criminal words, he threw his large stick on the ground and struck his left arm with his right hand, where he kept his sharp dagger hidden under his yellow robe. The chief judge, Maulana Yasin, challenged Insaf's father, "Do you think, Haj Salah al-Junaid, that you can convince us that this beautiful white Arab girl left her family and ran away with this ugly black African boy because she loves him and wants to marry him?" Maulana Sharafuddin said sarcastically, "Haj Salah, do you think you can deceive us with this unreasonable story that only a crazy person who has lost his mind could believe?" Our faithful Lord Al-Amin said while laughing, "Oh Haj Salah, fear God. Listen to my advice to you and tell us the truth as it is." Maulana Yasin said, "We know that the truth is bitter for those who say it and for those who had been said to them." The African husband then intervened and said, "Gentlemen, allow me to tell you the true story of my wife and her Arab father." Maulana Yasin said, "Please tell us the true story as it is, without frills." Maulana Sharafuddin added it, "I hope you will speak quickly because we are very close to the time of the noon prayer." Then the black African husband Deng, while weeping narrated the tragic story that his beloved Arab wife Insaf went through from from the time she fell in love with him in the city of Gadarif and until their marriage in the city of Khartoum. Every now and then, his story is challenged, misunderstood, misinterpreted, and corrupted by the three judges. Often, he is asked to repeat or explain an event for better understanding. As he spoke, the Arab rulers continued to check and correct his grammar and fluency in Arabic pronunciation. Finally, with great difficulty, the African husband Deng somehow managed to end a sad story of the runaway bride and deliver it to the heads of the three stubborn Arab judges. Maulana Hassan said, "Oh Hajj Salah, why did you refuse to give your Arab daughter to this African Muslim boy?" Hajj Salah said angrily, "I'm free to marry my Arab daughter to whomever I want to marry her to." The Honorable Maulana Al-Amin said thoughtfully, "Under the law of God and His Messenger, this young Arab woman is no longer under your control. She was under your guardianship and power as her father before she married her late husband Hattaha. At that time, she was a virgin and could not marry any Muslim man without the permission of her father or guardian. After her first marriage, losing her virginity and becoming a widow, she had the full right to choose her second Muslim husband. And since she chose this African Muslim boy, you cannot stop her, prevent her, or divorce her from him. Now," Maulana Sharafuddin quickly said, "There is a grave error in what you said, O Honorable Maulana Al-Amin. The Islamic marriage of this widowed wife that you spoke about was not perfect. The reason is that there was no clear marriage between the late Hattaha and his wife, the disobedient Insaf. In other words, because the husband and wife did not have sex together, and therefore he did not taste her honey, and she did not taste his honey. Moreover, the late husband Hattaha has not yet divorced his wife Insaf." Maulana Al-Amin shouted angrily, "What do you mean by saying this? Do you expect the first husband, Hattaha, to emerge from the grave and divorce his first Muslim wife Insaf, or to practice farewell sexual intercourse with her like a zombie or a ba'adi in order to complete the clear marriage?" After deep thought, Maulana Hassan said, "Oh, our blessed judges, both of you have misunderstood the law of God and His Messenger. Hattaha's marriage to this disobedient wife cannot be called an Islamic marriage because he did not have sex with her, unless he tasted her sweetness and she tasted his own sweetness through sexual intercourse by inserting the syringe into the mukhal cup. They cannot be called husband and wife. In other words, without having sex together even once in bed, while naked and barefoot, the relationship cannot be called a complete Islamic marriage." Maulana Sharafuddin shouted angrily, "That is exactly what I said." Maulana Al-Amin said, "Yes, that is what you said, but you did not provide any verse from the Holy Quran or a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad to support your judgment." Maulana Sharafuddin said to Maulana Yasin, "Say your noble Quranic verse or your authentic prophetic hadith, and I will say my verse and my hadith, and we can see who is right in his legal ruling in this difficult marital issue." Then you can steal my Quranic verse or my prophet's hadith and then claim that you knew them before me. Our faithful Lord Yasin, who is the main judge, said, our blessed judges, I can resolve your dispute. Each of you must whisper his verse or hadith into my right and left ears, and then we can find out who is right and who is wrong. The married lovers, Deng and his staff, are tired of standing before their three all religious judges. Moreover, the topic now being discussed and argued between them made them feel bored and angry. However, when they saw the two disputing judges whispering Quranic verses and prophetic hadiths supporting their arguments into the main judges' ears, they burst into loud laughter. Our faithful Lord said, by God Almighty, I knew this noble verse, but I wanted to see whether each of you knew it. Then the chief judge, Maulana Yasin, said, listen, Haj Salah al-Junaid. God has said in his holy book, the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, verse 3, so marry as many women as you please, 2, 3, or 4 at the same time. And if you fear that you will not be able to do justice, then one or whatever your right hands possess. Therefore, your daughter's first marriage to the late Hajj is not valid because there is no sexual intercourse in it. That is, the late Hajj, may God have mercy on his soul, did not have sex with your daughter in Saf when he married her because she killed him and ran away on their first wedding night. Accordingly, her first husband cannot be called her Muslim spouse, while she is now his widow, because he did not taste her honey and she did not taste his honey. The chief judge interrupted it and said to Deng, listen, African husband, I have a fundamental question that I want to ask you in front of all the distinguished attendees here. When you married this Arab girl and slept with her for the first time, did you find her a virgin, damsel, or a deflowered woman? The husband then replied, I swear by God Almighty and his holy book, Quran, when I married her and slept with her, I found her to be a virgin, like the Virgin Mary. Our faithful Lord Al-Amin said thoughtfully, this means that this African boy has no right to marry this Arab girl when she was a virgin and had not yet been married without obtaining the permission of her Muslim father, Haj Salah al-Junaid, her legal guardian. This is because our Prophet Muhammad said, it is not permissible for a virgin to marry without a guardian, and any virgin who marries without her guardian is an adulteress. Maulana Sharafuddin said, may God bless you, O Maulana Al-Amin, because you have discovered a serious problem with the validity of their marriage. Maulana Yasin angrily asked the African husband, who is this foolish Mazun or Imam of the mosque who tied the knot with this Muslim girl when she was a virgin without taking the permission of her father, who is her Muslim guardian, Haj Salah al-Junaid? The accused husband then replied, his name is Imam Maulana Sheikh al-Hadiyah. Do you have an Islamic marriage certificate? Asked the lead judge. The African husband said, yes, I have our marriage certificate here with me. Then, with trembling hands, he took out their marriage certificate and handed it to the chief judge. Maulana Yasin began reading the document out loud. The name of Al-Mazun is Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadiyah. The husband's name is Deng Majok Nasir. The wife's name is Insaf Salah Junaid. The name of the guardian is Hajj Abdullah Usman. Suddenly he stopped reading and shouted at the African husband, "Who is this Hajj Abdullah Usman?" Deng replied, "He's the man who found the homeless girl in Saf eating rotten food in a dirty garbage container. So he took her to his home and took care of her like his own daughter." The chief judge said, "Well, I remember what you told us just now about her miserable life after she fled from her family's home." Maulana Sharafuddin shouted it. "Wait a minute. Who gave that Hajj Abdullah Usman the right to be the guardian of this disobedient girl who ran away from her father's house? Insaf herself appointed him as her guardian," Deng said. Insaf is a woman, and according to the Sharia schools of Shafi and Maliki of sort, a woman is completely ineligible to conclude a marriage contract, whether for herself or someone else, even if her guardian gives her permission to do so. The father can authorize and sign the marriage contract of his virgin daughter without asking her permission, no matter how old she is. Therefore, Hajj Abdullah Usman had no right to marry a virgin woman to another man if she was not his daughter. But Hajj Abdullah adopted Insaf as his daughter, Deng said. Adoption in Islam is forbidden and invalidated by the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Ahzab. Therefore, it is not permissible, according to Islamic law, for any Muslim man or a Muslim woman to adopt anyone. Deng wants to protest, but he fears that he will be accused of protesting against the teaching of Islam and challenging the Book of God, the Holy Quran. In this case, he may be considered a Muslim apostate and sentenced to death by hanging through the Sharia judge. Then the chief judge said, "Listen, Hajj Salah Junaid, if I cancel the marriage of your Arab daughter to this African boy, what will happen if she is already pregnant by him? What is the Islamic ruling on that child?" Maulana Sharafuddin said, "Only God knows what Sharia law can say about such a child." The chief judge intervened in Maulana Sharafuddin's words. If Sharia rules that he was born from adultery, then the Imam of the mosque, Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadiya, the Muslim man, Hajj Abdullah Usman, and this African boy and this Arab girl will all be in big trouble. Maulana Al-Amin said, if Sharia law says that marriage is permissible and the child is not from adultery, then the complainant, Hajj Salah Junaid, will lose the case and live here without his daughter, who rebelled against his authority and fled from his house and city and returned home empty-handed. Hajj Salah Junaid shouted impatiently, "Who are the people of Sharia law?" Maulana Sharafuddin answered angrily, "We are people of Sharia law." Hajj Salah shouted at Maulana Sharafuddin, "Then tell us your ruling or your order, the Sharia judge, and do not waste our time with meaningless and useless talk which doesn't satisfy hunger." The angry and abusive words of the Arab father-in-law causes the three judges to jump from their seats. As a result, they started taking it seriously. They spent a few minutes whispering among themselves. While the whispering continued, suddenly the chief judge took out his watch from the pocket of his jalabiya and shouted loudly, "It is time for the noon prayer." As a result of this religious declaration, the complainant father, Haj Salah al-Junaid, the African husband Deng, the three Sharia judges, and other Muslim men came forward from the crowd and formed a single line. Then the chief judge, Maulana Yasin, led the worshippers in a 10-minute prayer, and Maulana Al-Amin was Al-Mamun. At the same time, the disobedient white Arab girl Insaf, who was suspected of the validity of her marriage to the black African husband Deng, was ordered to leave the courtroom because she is a naked aura, an impure woman, and her presence among them will invalidate their prayers. As the Prophet Muhammad said, the estranged wife became happy, not angry, when she was removed from the courtroom of the law of God and his messenger. She now had the opportunity to sit down and rest for a while. When the prayer ended, the expelled Arab wife was summoned because she was the main suspect and her African husband was the second suspect. Then the three judges returned to the ruling seats again, and the disputants were asked to stand in their previous places. The chief judge said politely, "Haj Salah al-Junaid, pray to the Prophet." The father of Insaf responded respectfully, "A thousand prayers for the beloved." The judge appealed. Our Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, "If a man comes to you and you are satisfied with his religion and character, then marry him to your daughter." Then why did you refuse your daughter to marry this Muslim boy? Haj Salah answered defiantly, "If this black Southern Negro boy comes to you and asks for your Arab daughter's hand in marriage, can you, Maulana Yasin, bless your right hand on the Holy Quran now and swear that you will give her to him?" When Haj Salah challenged and confronted the chief judge of his hypocrisy, he laughed and said calmly, "I will not give him my Arab daughter in marriage." "So you rejected this black Muslim boy because your daughter is Arab and he is an African man?" asked Maulana Al-Amin. Haj Salah answered frankly, "Yes, this is the truth. My daughter is a free white Arab girl. Her grandfather is Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad, and this black Negro boy is a Southerner Denka slave. In this case, we can dissolve their marriage according to the Sharia law of inadequacy between the wife and her husband," the chief judge said. Maulana Sharafuddin said happily, "God bless you, Maulana Yasin. You have reminded us of a very important law in Sharia." Our faithful Lord Al-Amin also said with pleasure, "Finally, the truth has come and falsehood has perished. Indeed, falsehood was crushed from the beginning." The principal judge, Maulana Yasin, said, "In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, we, the three members of this blessed court of Allah and His Messenger, announce from today onwards the annulment of the marriage contract between Deng Majok Nasir and Insaf, the daughter of Haj Salah al-Junaid, based on the law of inadequacy or insufficiency between the tribe of the husband and the tribe of the wife." Maulana Sharafuddin said seriously, "Listen to my words, Deng Majok Nasir. Your marital relationship before today with Insaf Salah al-Junaid was legitimate. If you had a child born or in the womb before this day with this Arab girl, then this child is also legitimate. However, if it is proven that after this day onwards you remain together and committed it and commit adultery as a man and a woman, you will be guilty of violating the law of God and his messenger, and you will be arrested and severely punished according to the Sharia law, which is either flogging or a stoning. Maulana Al-Amin said, both of you be careful and do not cross God's limits. The punishment for adultery is flogging the guilty party, whether it is a man or a woman, with 100 lashes on their bare backs. Maulana Sharafuddin said, there is no mercy or a pity for those who transgress the limits of God, and there is no excuse for the one who has been warned in advance. Then the chief judge of the court of God and his messenger shouted, now you may bring trial number 5. Chapter 37. Sharia law of inadequacy of the marriage of an Arab wife to an African husband. As soon as the married lovers left the Sharia court, Insaf's father came to them and tried to forcefully take his rebellious daughter from her African husband, Dane, and travel with her to the city of Gadarif. The so-called disobedient and runaway Arab daughter refused to obey him and insisted on not leaving her husband and going with him. She knew that her dangerous Arab father will slaughter her with his shoulder knife in an honored killing, as slaughtering a goat as soon as he gets his hand on her. When she refused to listen to him, the father attacked his daughter with his stick, but the African husband intervened and saved his Arab wife. The brave husband received 3 strong blows to his back, thus saving his wife and their fetus in her womb. Somehow, the African husband managed to hold the angry Arab father captive until his Arab wife escaped unharmed. Despite this, the father cursed his rebellious daughter with insults and many threats that he would find her sooner or later and slaughter her like an animal with his knife. Finally, the husband then also managed to escape from his father-in-law without stabbing him with his knife, which was fixed like a dagger on his shoulder. The angry father chased his disobedient daughter for some time, but was unable to catch her and kill her in a cruel crime of honor. The rebellious daughter was very lucky that day because not a single policewoman was left in the Sharia courtroom when the Sharia judges annulled her illegal marriage to her African husband and ordered her to go with her Arab father. The only 2 policewomen present actually took the fairest rebellious wife to her Muslim husband's house of obedience. Had it not been for that, the Arab daughter in Saf would have been arrested by a policewoman and forcibly taken to her city of Gadarif with her dangerous Arab father, Haj Salah al-Junaid. Despite this, the angry father returned to the Sharia courtroom and informed the 3 judges that his rebellious daughter had escaped. Upon hearing the new complaint, the chief judge issued a police arrest warrant against the rebellious Arab daughter in Saf and her former African husband Dane. Therefore, a city-wide search began that day against the rebellious, adulterous Arab Muslim woman in Saf, Salah al-Junaid, and the disobedient, adulterous African Muslim man Dane Majok Nasir. whenever and wherever they are found, each one of them must be flogged with 100 lashes, as stated in the Holy Quran, and no mercy should be taken from you regarding them. This based on the Almighty's saying, the adulterers and the adulterer flog each of them with 100 lashes, and do not let pity to them in the religion of God overtook you, if you believe in God and the last day, and let a group of believers witness their torment. Surah Al-Nur 24 verse 2. Both of former spouses were accused of trying to have sexual cohabitation as the infidels. Both former spouses were accused of trying to have sexual cohabitation as the infidels and atheists do in Western countries, together illegally as a companion as his mistress, or a boyfriend and girlfriend, and committing adultery after the Sharia court of God and his infallible Prophet Muhammad invalidated their Islamic marriage, which was incomplete with the approval, permission, presence, and signature of the girl's father or guardian, and also according to the Sharia law, because it was not compatible matches of the Shagir tribe and of the Arab wife and the Denka tribe of the African husband. However, the lovers did not take the Sharia court's decision seriously until they met their lawyer Siham Khalil. Before she could express her shock in words, the unreproductive feminist lawyer placed her hands on her head and pronounced out loud the Shahada or Islamic creed out of habit. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. Then Siham said in great astonishment, with her hands still above her head, are you sure that the Sharia court has cancelled your marriage, your Islamic marriage contract, and considered it incomplete and invalid? The African husband then replied, this is what the religious judges did today in the Sharia court. The Sharia court's decision is stronger than the criminal court's decision. The laws of the Sharia court are considered divinely revealed from the zodiac sky to the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Even the president of the Democratic Republic of Sudan does not have the authority to cancel or change the ruling of the Sharia court. The annoyed Arab wife in South asked, what should we do? I don't know what to tell you guys. I cannot help you legally in this serious matter. If you ignore their decision and live together as husband and wife, you will be in big legal trouble if they find out. Your relationship will be considered cohabitation and fornication and will be punished by Sharia law with flogging. How could they separate us after we lived together as husband and wife for 4 months? Moreover, I'm already pregnant. Your pregnancy, I think, will be fine. They will allow you to keep the baby until you have breastfed him for 2 years, and then he will be handed over to his African father. We will not listen to these crazy religious judges, husband then shouted it. We will continue to live together. The northern wife in South said, I will not leave my southern husband Deng. I love him and he loves me too, and we will stay together until death set us apart. The lawyer Siam said, if there is a legal way out of this Sharia ruling, then a flaw or error may be found in it. The only person who can examine the Sharia court's decision and invalidate it is the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments. But that minister had previously quarreled with us in the criminal courtroom, and therefore he may not help us in this serious case. The African husband then asked the lawyer Siham, how can we find a loophole in this unfair decision? My knowledge of Islamic Sharia laws is very limited. I studied law at a secular institute of higher learning in Egypt called Al-Zaghazik University. I did not go to Durman Islamic University in Khartoum or Al-Azhar al-Sharif University in Cairo, where law students study the provisions of Sharia law, which are based on the four Islamic schools of thought, Maliki, Shafi, Hanafi, and Hanbali, which derive from the Quran, Sunnah, consensus, and analogy. Therefore, you must go to the official Mazun or the Imam of the mosque who conducted your Islamic marriage contract and ask his advice. Then the couple, Insaf and Deng, left the office of the atheist lawyer Siam Khalil and went directly to Haj Abdullah's house. Members of the Arab Muslim family received the news with horror. Each of them condemned the unfair decision as a disgusting racial bias aimed at impugning the legibility of the black African husband Deng. Then the good Muslim man Haj Abdullah insisted that he and the African husband Deng immediately go to the Imam of the mosque who had concluded the permissible Islamic marriage and seek his advice on this serious legal matter. The official Mazun who performed the illegally annulled marriage contract was the Imam of a mosque, and his name is Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadiya. He is a graduate of the Faculty of Law at the prestigious Al-Azhar al-Sharif University in Cairo city in the Arab state of Egypt. He has 3 positions in Sudan. He is a professor at the Faculty of Law at Durman Islamic University, a recognized married Mazun official, and the Imam of the mosque where Haj Abdullah performs his 5 daily prayers. He lives near the home of the Arab family that previously sheltered in Saf. It took the legally annulled African husband of the ex-Arab wife and the good Muslim man Haj Abdullah 15 minutes to reach the Imam's residence. He welcomed them very politely and offered them some lemonade. After taking a sip from his cold cup of juice, Haj Abdullah said, "Our Honorable Lord, do you remember this blessed boy?" Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadiya said after touching his long white beard. "Yes, of course, I remember him. He married your honorable daughter. She is not exactly my daughter, but she is like one of my 3 daughters. Yes, I remember you telling me her sad story and where you found her, where she was eating rotten food in a dirty dumpster with 2 stray dogs near your holy abode. Yes, this was the honorable, chaste, pure, and noble Arab girl who preferred to eat from a filthy garbage container instead of selling her thighs and breasts into prostitution to men who do not fear God and have no mercy in their hearts for those who in need." "What is her name?" "Her name is Insaf Salah al-Junaid." Then Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadiya asked the African husband Deng, "How is your honorable wife, my blessed son? Is she still in love with you and hanging in your ropes? Haji Abdullah answered before Deng answered. This is what brought us here. The Honorable Imam asked in astonishment, did you divorce her so quickly? Or did you marry a second Muslim wife as a darra or a harmful wife alongside her? Deng replied sadly, I have not divorced her and I will never divorce her, nor I have ever married another Muslim girl as a second wife beside her. Haji Abdullah said, her Arab father filed a complaint with the Sharia court against her marriage to Deng. Why did the Muslim father complain to the court of God and his messenger against the credibility of his daughter's legitimate Islamic marriage? He said that the Muslim boy Deng was not supposed to marry his Muslim daughter from the beginning. What is the exact legal reason he presented to the Sharia court for his objection to halal Islamic marriage? He said that this boy, Deng, is not suitable and qualified to marry his daughter in Saf. How could he contradict the hadith of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, in which he said that Muslims are equal like the teeth of a comb? Yes, our beautiful Islamic religion does not differentiate between believing Muslim except based on their religion and piety. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, said that there is no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab except through piety. So her Muslim father will most likely waste his time and make people laugh at him. Then quickly said, not at all, Your Honor, the Honorable Imam. The Arab father did not waste his time as you thought. The Sharia court judge has already annulled my permissible Islamic marriage to my Muslim wife in Saf today. Maulana shouted angrily. On what basis did the Sharia judge do that? A Sharia law has been applied to us that stipulates the inadequacy between the tribe of the wife and the tribe of the husband. But only an owned slave or a former slave freed from slavery can apply this law to him. Haji Abdullah said quickly, this son Deng is neither a slave owned by a master nor a former slave freed from slavery. He's a generous Muslim brother, the son of a generous Muslim brother. So why the Sharia court judge cancel? So why the Sharia court cancelled and invalidated the lawful Islamic marriage contract that we conducted in the mosque with witnesses, and you acted as the guardian of the bride? God only knows, Haji Abdullah said. Imam Sheikh al-Hadaya said after some thought about the mind-boggling legal matter, by the way, what is your tribe, Deng? I'm from the Denka tribe. Now I can see where the corona fall with you. Most likely he discovered from your appearance when you appeared before him in court that you were not an Arab boy, but rather an African Negro from South Sudan, while your wife in Saf must be a pure Arab girl from North Sudan. What is the legal Islamic objection to an African man marrying an Arab woman, both of whom are Muslims? Deng asked angrily. In this case, in South Arab Muslim father had the legal right to request an end to your marriage to his Arab daughter. Didn't you quote the saying of the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, Muslims are equal in the sight of God like the teeth of a comb? Then asked angrily. Yes, my son, all Muslims before God are equal like the teeth of a comb. And there is no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab in Islam except through piety. But if the girl's Arab father does not see you as racially qualified to marry his Arab daughter because you are African, then what can we do? According to the Sharia, it is permissible for him to invalidate your marriage contract with his daughter. Where did, where did Islamic Sharia come with the law of incompetence between legally married Muslim couples? I believe that this legal text has something to do with the marriage of Zainab bint Jahsh to Zayd ibn al-Haris, but God knows best. What was wrong with their marriage? The mother of the believers, Zainab, was the daughter of the maternal uncle of the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. There was a slave owned by Lady Khadija bint Khuwaylid, the fairest wife of the Prophet, and she then gave him as a gift to her husband because he had no son. So the messenger freed him, made him a free man, adopted him, and treated him as if he were his son who was born from his loins. He became known among the people as Zayd ibn Muhammad. All honorable Muslim men and free Muslim women began to call him the loved one, son of the loved one. The loved one, the son of the beloved one. Then the Holy Prophet married him to his cousin Zainab bint Jahsh. In the beginning, the free Arab girl Zainab bint Jahsh was not satisfied with marrying a free slave like Zayd, son of Muhammad, but a gracious verse came down from heaven and forced her to marry him. Despite this divine revelation and prophetic opinion, the arranged matrimonial relationship created a serious problem later in the marriage of the two. The wife Zainab began to complain about her Islamic marriage to the freed slave, and she began to constantly persecute her husband Zayd. To solve the problem that caused racial alienation and persecution, Zayd divorced his wife Zainab, and the Prophet took her as his wife. The legally rejected African husband interrupted it and asked with righteous anger if the Prophet had released Zayd and adopted him, and thus became like his son, then why did a racial problem arise in the legal Islamic marriage? There are different stories to explain this marital problem, which was solved by Zainab's divorce and her marriage to the Prophet. By the way, Zainab's marriage to the Messenger of Allah was also a divine command revealed by God in the Quran. God Almighty said in Surah Al-Ahzab 33 in verse 47, and when Zayd had fulfilled his desire from her, we married her to you. Some Muslim scholars said Zainab herself saw Zayd as inferior to her, so she began to despise him. In other words, she did not respect him as a husband. Other scholars said that the Prophet Muhammad lusted it after Zainab when he saw her half naked in the house of her husband Zayd, who was not at home when the messenger came to visit him. The seerah, or a biography of the Prophet, mentioned that Zainab was white and beautiful, and the sexy fat and had the sexy fat body, and was one of the most perfect women of Quraysh tribe. Therefore, the husband Zayd divorced his wife Zainab so that the Prophet could marry her and have halal sex with her. But other scholars said that the Zainab clan, from which the mother of the messenger of God Muhammad, may God bless him, grant him peace, came, did not like the marriage of their free Arab daughter to the freed former slave Zayd ibn Muhammad. Hajj Abdullah interrupted it and said proudly, "Our blessed Imam and Lord, I told my son Deng that if he wants to marry one of my three free Arab daughters, I'm fully prepared to marry her to him." God bless you, Hajj Abdullah. You are like the Holy Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace, because you see all Muslims as equal as the teeth of a comb. Confused, Deng wondered, how can I leave the girl I love and divorce her and go and marry another girl I don't love? The Imam of the mosque, who performed the previous Islamic marriage contract, which has become legally invalid and cancelled forever, said in response, under the law of God and his messenger, Insaf is no longer your wife. You cannot even remarry her or take her as your wife again. Then asked angrily, "O Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadiya, if I ask for your Arab daughter's hand in marriage, will you reject me because of that Sharia law that makes it illegally for an Arab wife to be, which make it legally permissible for an Arab wife to be divorced from her African husband without his consent because of lack of sufficiency between their tribes? To be frank with you, my son Deng," said Maulana politely, "I may not give you my daughter in marriage for the same reason. Even if I agree to marry her to you, my Muslim wife will not agree to the marriage. Suppose my wife and I agree, our Arab daughter herself will certainly reject you. If we do not listen to her and force her to marry you as God and his messenger married Zainab and Zayd, our Arab daughter will either kill herself or run away from home and become a bad woman or a prostitute in another city. Why do you, your wife, and your daughter reject me? Hajj Abdullah is an Arab man and I am an African man. Yet he said that he could give me his Arab daughter if I wanted it to marry her." Maulana continued saying, laughing, "My son Deng, saying it with your mouth is easy, but doing it is difficult. If you don't believe my words, ask for his Arab daughter's hand in marriage today, and then see what his Muslim wife and Arab daughter will do." Deng did not take Maulana Sheikh Al-Hadaya's challenge seriously. On the other hand, Hajj Abdullah considered this a real test of his personal integrity and religious commitment. Thus, he thought about it for a long time. When he returned to his home and his Arab family with the African boy Deng, he did not tell him what he intended it to do. Chapter 38. Racial discrimination practiced by the Arab police against the African husband. The illegitimate Muslim couple Insaf and Deng left the home of the good Muslim man Hajj Abdullah that evening with feelings of disappointment and frustration. Instead of returning to their hut in the shanty town, call it Al-Ishash. They took a taxi to the riverbank and sat on the far, lonely side of the Nile. They remained quiet for a long time before they began to discuss their serious, insoluble problem. The legally annulled husband then asked after a long silence, "Do you think we would make a mistake if we lived together as husband and wife after the Sharia court invalidated our Islamic marriage contract?" The illegitimate wife, Insaf, responded it sympathetically. "I don't know what should we do next. I love you so much, Deng, and I don't want to leave you. I have no one to go to if I leave you, and I cannot live without you. I believe there is a solution to our problem," Deng said. "If you accept my idea, my beloved Insaf, we can be free from this racist, unfair Sharia law." "What is the solution, my dear Deng?" "We have to run away together. We must leave the north and it is racist Arab people and go to the South Sudan. There the Islamic Sharia laws are not applied. They are secular laws set by the British colonists. The African Christian people, they are not as biased and racist as the Arab Muslim people here. It is a good idea. If you are with me, my dear Deng, I don't care where I live in the world, who lives among us, and which religion the people of the South follow. Great, my love Insaf. For your sake, I gave up my father and mother. I want to be with you and our children that God will bless us with in the future." According to the lovers, Deng and Insaf decided to go to their hut, pack up their luggage, head to Khartoum General Railway Station, and travel to South Sudan that same evening. Therefore, the burden of the Sharia court's unfair racist ruling has been lifted from their hearts, their chests. They were thrilled about their bright and promising future in the South. The happy couple then hug each other tightly. Their lips are locked together in intense, amorous affection. The cool river breeze passed over their faces and gave them a great feeling of sexual pleasure. If they were not in a public place, they would have made love together and reached a very pleasurable sexual climax. At the height of this time of joy and pleasure, the two lovers, Insaf and Deng, continued to drink from the deep well of their love. They remained in this emotional delight and sexual pleasure until their lips tore apart with four rough hands. They opened their eyes in horror and saw two Arab police men standing behind them like two devils emerging from the waters of the Nile River. "How dare you commit such a forbidden indecency in such a public place?" one of the policemen harshly shouted. The African lover Deng said with fear and panic, "We are a legally married couple, sir, and this girl is my wife." The policeman asked him, "Where's your evidence for this claim?" With pride, Deng took their marriage certificate out of his pocket and handed it to the policeman. The police officer snatched the document from his hand and looked at it. Then he smiled and handed it to the other policeman to read. The second Arab police officer read the certificate sarcastically. "The husband's name is Deng Majok Nasir. The wife's name is Insaf Salah al-Junaid. This is fake marriage certificate. You created it to deceive people. The other policeman said angrily, "Give me that fake certificate, Hamdan." Then he snatched it from his colleague's hand, tore it into pieces, and scattered the small pieces in the air until they were scattered everywhere. Then shouted angrily, "How dare you tear up our official marriage certificate?" The same policeman said, "Who do you want to fool, Banjos? Who will believe that this beautiful, free Arab girl will marry a black-faced, ugly African Negro slave like you?" The other officer said, "Which Northern Arab parents would agree to give their free Arab daughter to a black Negro slave like you? They may marry her to a pig or a dog, but not to you." And Saf said while crying bitterly, "This African boy is my legal Muslim husband, Deng, and I am now pregnant by him. You violated Sudanese law by destroying our legal marriage certificate." One of the Arab policemen answered sarcastically, "Yes, miss. Tell us where he took you from. Did he kidnap you from the Chinese Friendship Hall cinema or from the beautiful Nile River?" Her southern husband Deng said angrily, "Insaf is neither a street girl nor a prostitute hired to engage in prostitution. She is my legal Muslim wife, and I am her legal Muslim husband. Come with us and prove it to our boss at the police station. You cannot arrest a Muslim couple married according to the book of God and the Sunnah of his Prophet. If you are a Muslim couple, you will not kiss each other in this open public place at this hour of the day. You would have taken her to your house and fuck her with your black cock in her red pussy there. Respect yourself, policeman, and do not say these obscene words to us again. Only bad Arab girls and prostitutes can agree to kiss in the streets," said the other policeman. The Arab wife in Saf shouted angrily, "Don't call me a slutty woman or a bad Arab girl. If you are not a street whore, show us your parents' house. We will take you in the police car to your Arab parents' house with this black nigger and let them prove to us that he is your husband." Deng said, "Mr. Policeman, we are a legally married couple and we have a house. Come with us in the police car to the place where we live in the Al-Ishash neighborhood and see our hut. Listen, Banjos, you cannot convince us that this pretty white Arab girl is your wife. She is a Northern girl and you are a black Negro from the south. But what a pity, she is a fallen Arab girl. Otherwise, she would not have even looked at your ugly black face, let alone allowed you to kiss her on the lips on the riverbank. Can you tell us, Miss Insaf, how much this Negro slave, your Casanova, paid you in exchange for your agreeing to kiss and have sexual intercourse with him in a public place, as if you were two infidel Christian lovers in Heidi's garden in London City in Britain?" "Oh, beautiful Miss Walid Insaf, how much money did you earn today?" the other policeman asked sarcastically. "Insaf is an Arab girl, and from here she realized that no matter how much she tried to convince the two Northern policemen that the black Southern boy Deng was her legal Muslim husband, they would not be able to believe her words. They were blinded by their hateful racist ideas." Then she put her hand around the waist of her African husband Deng while crying bitterly and said to the two Arab policemen. If you do not want to believe that this African boy is my legal Muslim husband, then come with us to the house of my Arab parents, and they will testify in our favor and confer our permissible Islamic marriage. The two Arab policemen accepted the challenge and accompanied Isaf and Deng in the police car to Haj Abdullah's house. The good Muslim man himself responded to the violent knocking on his door from one of the police officers. He immediately appeared at the door with his Muslim wife, Hajja Maryam, and their three Arab daughters, Safa, Muna, and Marwa. One of the policemen asked harshly in an ugly voice like the howling of a wolf, "Is this white Arab girl your daughter?" Haj Abdullah replied, "Yes, she is my daughter in Saf." The other policeman asked in a coarse voice like an ogre, "Is this southern black Negro boy her husband?" Haj Abdullah hesitated for a few seconds before saying in a low voice, "Yes, this is her African husband Deng." The second policeman said, "They were lucky because they fell into our hands and not some other strict Arab policemen. If they go again and sit on the river bank and kiss each other on the lips and caress their bodies sexually in a public place, they will face serious trouble with the law enforcement officers and God's righteous police of Allah." Haj Abdullah said, "Come, my daughter in Saf, and bring your husband Deng with you." Then the Arab wife in Saf proudly held the hand of her African husband Deng, and they both walked inside Haj Abdullah's house. The two Arab policemen looked with great astonishment at the couple, the black boy and the white girl, who entered the courtyard of Haj Abdullah. They looked at them in disbelief until they disappeared from their bulging eyes, which were like the eyes of two crocodiles. Then they turned to each other as if they discovered that the accursed Satan had married an angelic human female. After overcoming their shock, they returned to their police car and drove away while heatedly debating the legality of the marriage of such a white, beautiful Arab girl who looked like a nymph of heaven and African Negro boy as black as a raven. Neither of them believed that they were, as they claimed, Muslim lovers who were legally married according to the Book of God and the Sunnah of his Prophet. Chapter 39. The Arab family's bias against the African husband. The cancelled Arab wife in Saf woke up extremely late the next morning. She suffers from a headache on one side of her head. Her left eye is constantly shedding tears. She forces herself to sit on the bed. Slowly, she extended her legs and placed them on the floor. The first thing that caught her attention was the table with a large tray placed in front of her. Insaf understood that it was a breakfast prepared by Hajja Maryam and placed in front of her bed. She always loves and enjoys the food that Hajj Maryam cooks, so she quickly went to the bathroom, washed her hand, brushed her teeth, and went back to enjoying her delicious breakfast. While she was eating, the Arab wife remembered the events of the previous day. She thanked God who helped them escape from those two racist Arab policemen who caught her and her African husband red-handed. in committing an Islamic crime forbidden in a public place while they were embracing and kissing each other on the lips near the waters of the Nile riverbank. She also remembered the racist Sharia court decision that invalidated their Islamic marriage. She felt a little happy when she remembered her plan to escape with her African husband to South Sudan. Her annulled husband Deng had left the previous day, an hour after the two Arab police officers had left. He went to their shack in the shanty town of Al Ishash neighborhood and promised the family that he would return in the morning to take his Arab wife. At the suggestion of Haj Abdullah, the husband Deng agreed to allow his wife Insaf to sleep at his house. He also understood that without their marriage certificate proving their relationship, they could get into serious trouble with the law. No Arab policeman in the entire capital of Sudan could believe them if they said they were spouses. To avoid further trouble, the African husband allowed his Arab wife to sleep at Haj Abdullah's house and returned to his hut in the poor Al Ishash neighborhood and promised to return the next day and take her. Before we recount what happened next to the Muslim couple whose marriage was annulled by the Sharia court, we must mention what happened to the effeminate neighbor boy Hamada, who played a dirty role in sexually blackmailing Insaf, which promoted her to slaughter Hajj Shaza, his auntie. Before the end of the long trial of Insaf, Hamada was released from prison on bail paid by police officer Yasser Talha. A secret deal was made between the two inside the prison, stipulating that Hamada would inherit the two houses of his murdered aunt, Hajjashaza, and sell them and give the corrupt officer Yasser Talha 25% of the sale price of the two properties. Accordingly, he was released from prison and his name was removed from the crime in which the innocent girl Insaf was tried alone and sentenced to be hanged until death. The adulterous police officer Yasser Talha made the effeminate boy Hamada withdraw his previous statements and deny that he took pictures of the girl Insaf when she took off all her clothes and became completely naked in front of the wealthy old man, Sheikh Abdu. Hamada put the blame on his deceased aunt, the murdered pimp, and falsely claimed that she was the one who photographed the naked girl Insaf, whom she linked to her Saudi wealthy client, Sheikh Abdu. After completing this secret deal, Hamada inherited the profession of his late aunt, the evil woman Shaza Hassan, and became a pimp who trafficked in girls. When the new pimp Hamada returned to his old home and tried to approach the good Arab family, Haj Abdullah expelled him and threatened to kill him if he approaches three chaste, noble, and honorable Arab daughters, Safa, Muna, and Marwa again. Hajja Maryam closed the small door that connected the two neighboring houses and prevented Kalbasura, or the naval dog Hamada, from ghosting his unclean legs and stabbing with his dirty feet in her holy abode and seeing the private parts of one of her daughters without a abaya or a hijab. The brave and chaste girl Insaf did not meet Hamada, and she thanked God that the family expelled that obscene, effeminate boy who photographed her naked without her knowledge, and that his heinous act became robust evidence that condemned her to death and almost cost her life. In any case, while the legally annulled Arab wife in Saf was still eating breakfast at Haj Abdullah's house, his wife, Hajj Maryam, came to her room and wished her a good morning. Insaf replied, "Good morning, Auntie Maryam. Thank you for the delicious breakfast. You, my good daughter, deserve more than this simple food. Thank you very much, Auntie Maryam. You are you are you are a really nice mother. How are you feeling today, my daughter? Last night you looked very tired and weak. I'm better off today, but I still have a slight headache. We told you not to go with Deng yesterday, but you didn't listen to us. But Auntie, I cannot listen to the ruling of these racist religious men in the Sharia court and leave my legitimate Muslim husband. I am his lawful Muslim wife, and I carry his child in my womb, and I love him very much," Hajj Maryam said angrily, turning her face away from Insaf to avoid an eye contact. "I hope he loves you as you love him." "Of course, Deng loves me very much. What made you doubt my husband's love for me?" Hajj Maryam's unexpected judgment baffled Insaf, so she demanded an explanation. Then Hajj Abdullah's angry wife felt justified in letting her boiling anger explode and telling the truth about the racist feelings that she had been carrying in her chest all night like Peter acid to the black Negro boy Deng. "If Deng loves you, why does he want to marry another Arab girl?" "What are you talking about, Auntie Maryam? I don't understand what you are saying about my good husband Deng," Hajj Maryam said angrily. "Of course, you heard me and understood what I told you. Who is the other Arab girl that Deng wants to marry? He wants to marry any one of my three daughters." "How did you know that?" "If you don't believe me, ask your uncle Hajj Abdullah. He will tell you that as soon as Imam Maulana Sheikh Al Hadaya confirmed the cancellation of your Islamic marriage to him, Deng decided to marry one of our three Arab daughters." "Of course, what you said and Maryam is not true. My husband Deng would never do that." "My daughter Insaf, just trust yourself. All men are like this. To a man, a woman is just a body. Once he doesn't get her body, he pursues another girl. Please, Auntie Maryam, stop telling me these untrue things about my good and faithful husband. I cannot believe that my loving husband wants to marry one of your daughters. At least he would have told me that. If you don't want to accept my words, talk to your uncle Hajj Abdullah and ask him about the truthfulness of what I told you about Deng betraying you. He was the one who told me about his engagement to one of our daughters last night. My husband Abdullah is always like this. Even if Satan told him that he was a Muslim man, he would not hesitate to marry him to one of his daughters. Believe it, Believe it or not, my fair daughter, one day my husband brought one of my daughters. My husband wanted to marry one of my daughters to a Sahir boy with an evil eye, and his father was a Ba'ati man. For those who are not aware, Sahir is a witch doctor who is believed in Sudan to have the ability to eat someone's intestines without touching him. He can also change himself into a werewolf when the crescent became 14 days full moon and attacks and kills people, eats their meat raw. The Bahati man is like a zombie who can emerge from his grave 3 days after his death and burial. This is the name that the people of North Sudan used to describe some of the black people of the African tribes, the so-called Negro Jango, who are believed to be able to rise from their graves after being buried. Like ghosts or zombies, they attack anyone who approaches them. The Jalaba Arab people believe that both the Sahar witchcraft and the Ba'ati zombie are blessed under spells of curses, and therefore they are hated and subject to racial discrimination against them by the Arab Northrans. Yesterday, Hajj Mariam continued angrily, without any shame, that my naive husband also brought your black Negro slave husband Dane, and he wanted me to agree to his marriage to one of my Arab daughters. When Hajj Mariam expressed her anger with those words laden with hateful racism, she began to hear Insaf crying and saw her slapping her face and pulling her long hair out of pain. The righteous anger boiling her chest like the lava of an exploding volcano. The loud wailing and screaming of the infuriated Arab wife made Hajj Abdullah run quickly from the men's section and reach the women's section. He asked, "What is the problem, Hajj Mariam?" I told Insaf what you told me yesterday about Deng's engagement to one of our daughters. I told you not to tell her. We must first convince one of our daughters to agree to marry him. When the outraged wife of Deng heard Hajj Abdullah's words, she screamed as she threw herself on the floor. No, no, no! She grabbed her hair with both hands, bullied, slapped, and hit her face and head with her hands, and entered into a frantic rage. Then the extremely angry Arab wife said loudly, "No! How dare he do this to me after I suffered so much because of him? I left my father and mother. I ran away from my home and was displaced from my city because of his forbidden love. I was accused and imprisoned because of his hateful love. I was even sentenced to death by hanging as a result of my love affair with him, who was racially hated and annulled. Is this how he repays my sacrificial love for him?" Hajj Mariam said after a long silence, "Please, my daughter Insaf, do not harm yourself. Take care of the baby in your womb." The angry wife Insaf shouted, "I hate him and I hate his child. I don't want to see his black face again. He is no different from all other selfish men." Hajj Mariam said, "You told the truth. My daughter, Deng's only desire in life is to marry an Arab girl. When he lost you, his white Arab wife, he came after my beautiful Arab daughters. But I swear to God, if he were the last man in the world, I would never agree to him marrying one of my Arab daughters. And Saf screamed at the top of her voice, I hate him. I hate him so much. I don't want to see his ugly black face anymore. Unfortunately, the furious Arab wife's last words were heard by her African husband, making him wonder what happened to her. Deng then hesitated for a few minutes before he began knocking on the outer door of Haj Abdullah's house. Haj Mariam said, Listen, Haj Abdullah, if this is Deng, don't bring him to the women's section. Take him straight to the men's section. From what he told you yesterday at the house of Imam Sheikh Al Hadaya and what he wanted it to do yesterday with one of my white Arab daughters, I started it to hate him too. When Hajja Mariam finished advising her husband about what he should do, what should to do with the black Negro husband who was rejected by law and now hated by race, she gently lifted his beautiful white Arab wife off the floor and placed her on the bed. Then she kissed her forehead very lovingly and hugged her affectionately. In that unfriendly atmosphere, the unwanted African husband Deng entered alongside Haj Abdullah. The angry voice of his beloved Arab wife in service still screaming unpleasant words such as, I hate him so much, I don't want to see his ugly black face anymore. Deng's body was paralyzed and turned into stone for a few seconds. When the blood flowed again in his veins, he heard the sweet voice of his beautiful Arab wife saying, Don't let him come in here and try to see me. I don't want to see him again for the rest of my life. I will spit on his monstrous black face if he comes here. While his body was dripping with sweat, Deng asked Abdullah in a stuttering voice, What happened to my beloved wife in Saf? The first impression that appeared in the world's mind, in the world's mind of Deng was that his beloved Arab wife in Saf had lost her mind and become crazy. At that critical moment in his life, no one at the house of Haj Abdullah could convince him that his beloved wife in Saf could change overnight and become another disgusting, racist Arab girl. Haj Abdullah said politely, My son, come and visit the men's section and sit with me there. Inside one of the men's rooms, the good Arab man, Haj Abdullah, briefly narrated to the African husband Deng the incident that had angered his Arab wife in Saf. But, my dear uncle, I did not propose marriage to one of your 3 Arab daughters. You are the one who made that suggestion. I thought maybe if I gave you one of my Arab daughters, she could fill the vacuum created in your heart by the absence of her sister in Saf who was separated from you. But uncle, Insaf is still my wife and I am her husband. I did not divorce her and she did not separate herself from me. Neither she nor I believe it or accepted it, the ruling of that unjust and hateful racist law issued by the Sharia court. But the ruling of the Sharia court is based on the book of God and the Sunnah of his unfallible Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Only the accursed Satan could produce such a foolish law to separate legally married Muslims like me and my wife in South. This law of incompetence between the Arab tribe of the wife and the African tribe of the husband was inspired by Satan, the devil, to separate us unjustly, except that I am black and my wife is white. But we both have blood running in our veins, but we both have red blood running in our veins. Haj Abdullah said angrily, "Listen, Deng, even though you and Insaf have no regard for the rule of God's law and his infallible prophet, I care about it more than I care about my family members and myself. Therefore, if you take this Arab girl Insaf from here and stay with her as a spouses in your heart, and you both commit adult indecency and have forbidden sex, my family and I will sever our relationship with her forever. So far, I treat her just like one of my 3 daughters. But if she crosses the boundaries of God and his messenger and crosses the Islamic red lines and goes with you and lives with you in a forbidden cohabitation relationship, just like the infidels do in the West, again as you both did yesterday evening on the riverbank, we will not open our door if she comes back to our house." When Haj Abdullah threatened to cut off the runaway Arab girl from his family and disown her, the 2 angry women, Maryam and Insaf, rushed to the men's section and joined the fight. All this time, the 2 angry women stand peeping through holes at the partition separating the Harim quarters from the men's court and listen to the heated conversation and religious debate between the 2 Arab man and African man. Then the angry wife Maryam shouted at her husband, "Listen, Haj Abdullah, Insaf is a daughter of Arab tribes and origins and from a good and noble Shagia family. She has suffered enough with this treacherous and reckless Southern African Negro boy. She just told me that she doesn't want anything to do with Deng anymore and cannot have anything else to do with him. He must leave this house immediately and go to his place in the shanty town of Al-Ashash neighborhood." Haj Abdullah said, "Please, Deng, go to your hut. All the neighbors in the houses next to us are listening to this scandalous quarrel between you and your ex-wife." The unwanted African husband looked at his so-called Arab ex-wife with eyes filled with hot tears. The angry Arab girl Insaf spat on the ground, then turned her back to him and walked to the Harim section, followed by the extremely angry woman Hajja Maryam, who claimed that her great-grandfather was Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad, P.P.U.H. Then the Then the legally abolished and racially outcast black African husband bowed his head and left the hostile Arab environment. Never before had Deng felt so humiliated and hateful racial discrimination as on this black day when his white Arab wife in South cooperated with the biased Arabs and expelled him like a black dog whose owner had rejected it because of the color of its skin.